Hey everyone, I'm Michael, 45 years old, and today I want to share with you something incredibly powerful and personal. I had a near-death experience last year that completely changed my perspective on faith, history, and the generation known as the Boomers. During this experience, I saw visions and heard words that still resonate with me every day. Jesus spoke directly to me and said, "Tell the Boomers, they were my strongest army." Now I know that sounds surprising. In today's culture, Boomers often get a bad rap. They're called out for their mistakes and criticized for their generation's failures. But Jesus showed me a different truth. I saw images of churches, communities, and movements led by Boomers who stood strong in faith during times of great turmoil. Through wars, cultural shifts, and moral battles. They were the backbone of revival, perseverance, and spiritual warfare. This generation carried burdens many don't realize and fought battles with prayer, sacrifice, and unwavering faith. Jesus called them his strongest army because they stood when others fell. They prayed when others doubted, and they kept the flame of faith alive. As a younger generation, we often overlook their contributions or write them off. But Jesus reminded me, and now I'm telling you, that Boomers played a crucial role in God's kingdom. This testimony isn't just about history. It's about honoring faithfulness and understanding the spiritual legacy we've inherited. After Jesus told me that, I started seeing more and more how Boomers really carried the spiritual weight of their times. They lived through decades when faith was under attack from all sides. Social upheaval, political change, moral decline. Yet they kept praying, kept going to church, kept raising families with faith as their foundation. Jesus showed me pictures of prayer meetings in the 70s and 80s, of pastors and lay people holding on to hope when the world was shifting rapidly. These men and women stood in the gap for their communities, often sacrificing personal comfort to be the spiritual warriors God needed. But here's the thing, their battles weren't always visible. They fought spiritual battles in private, behind closed doors, in quiet persistence. That's why the world often forgets them or dismisses their contributions. Jesus told me, "The world sees only the surface, but I see the faith and prayers that shaped nations." It was a call to honor the generation that paved the way for so many of us, to learn from their perseverance, and to recognize that their prayers are still powerful today. And it wasn't just about looking back. It was a call for the younger generations to pick up the torch and continue the fight, inspired by the Boomers' faithfulness. Jesus reminded me that every generation has a role in his plan, and Boomers were a critical part of his army on earth. Since that vision, I've reflected a lot on what it means to be part of a spiritual army. Jesus made it clear that the Boomers weren't perfect, far from it, but their willingness to stand firm in difficult times was what made them mighty. They faced wars, cultural revolutions, the rise of secularism, and the moral shifts that challenged the church's foundation. Yet, through all that, many Boomers remained steadfast, holding fast to prayer and community. Jesus showed me glimpses of homes where families gathered for worship, communities where believers stood united, and individuals who prayed relentlessly for revival, even when they felt forgotten or worn out. It was a reminder that faithfulness isn't always loud or flashy. It's often quiet endurance and consistent prayer. He urged younger generations to honor that legacy and to learn from the Boomers' example of perseverance. And Jesus told me, "Their prayers are not forgotten. They built the foundation on which you stand." This testimony is a call to respect, gratitude, and renewed commitment, to continue the fight with the same spirit of faith and endurance. One of the most striking things Jesus revealed to me was the depth of spiritual warfare the Boomers endured. It wasn't just cultural changes or social pressures. They faced real, unseen battles against darkness that threatened to overwhelm the church. Yet, many stood firm, not because they were perfect, but because they were faithful. They prayed in secret, fasted, and sacrificed their time and resources to keep the flame of faith alive. Jesus said, "They were my warriors in the trenches, standing when others fled." It made me realize how important it is to acknowledge the struggles that generation faced, even if the world only remembers their mistakes or shortcomings. Their faithfulness kept the church alive and paved the way for future revivals. Jesus also spoke about the importance of unity between generations. The boomers passing the baton to younger believers with love and wisdom, and younger believers honoring and learning from that legacy. He encouraged me to share this message as a reminder that every generation matters in his kingdom, and the boomers' role was vital in his plan. We must remember their sacrifices and build on their foundation with respect and gratitude. After receiving this message, I felt a deep burden to encourage and uplift the boomer generation. They have often been misunderstood or dismissed, but Jesus sees them as mighty warriors who held the line during some of the toughest spiritual seasons in modern history. He showed me that their prayers shaped the course of nations, their sacrifices opened doors for revival, and their faithfulness kept many souls from falling into darkness. Jesus said, "Honor them, for they fought the good fight." This is not a call to idolize, but to respect and learn from the endurance, prayer, and commitment they demonstrated. For then, is Jay Grand a step back? He also called on younger generations to step up, not with judgment, but with humility and gratitude, to continue the spiritual legacy. The battle continues, but the foundation is solid because of the boomers' faith. Jesus wants the church to unite across generations, recognizing each part's vital role in advancing his kingdom. This testimony is a bridge, connecting past faithfulness to future hope. I also saw how the boomers faced personal battles, loss, loneliness, struggles with doubt, but they held on. They carried the weight of prayer chains, Bible studies, and worship nights that often went unnoticed. Jesus said, "Their faith was forged in fire, and their prayers were the foundation of many blessings." He reminded me that spiritual battles aren't always dramatic. Often they're fought in quiet rooms, in whispered prayers, in hearts willing to persevere. This made me appreciate how much we owe to the generation before us, who kept faith alive through thick and thin. Jesus' message was clear. Honor them, learn from them, and build on their faith. It's a call for humility, gratitude, and responsibility to keep advancing God's kingdom, because every generation has a role, and boomers were his strongest army in their time. As I continued to reflect, Jesus showed me that many boomers are still fighting battles today, health struggles, loneliness, doubts, but their faith remains unshaken. He told me, "They are still my warriors, and their prayers still move mountains." Jesus urged me to remind younger generations that respect and unity across ages strengthen the church as a whole. We must build bridges, listen, and learn from the wisdom and endurance of those who came before us. Extension of it, the battle for souls is ongoing, and every generation's faithfulness matters. Jesus' words were a call to honor boomers for their strength and to encourage them to keep standing strong. As this message comes to a close, I want to share the hope Jesus gave me for the future. He reminded me that the boomers' faith laid the groundwork for what's to come: a revival, a harvest, and a united church. Jesus said, "Their prayers built the foundation. Now, It's time for the generations to rise together.
He called for unity, strength, and perseverance, reminding us that every generation has a vital role in his kingdom.
The boomers were indeed his strongest army, but the battle continues, and together we can stand firm. This testimony is a tribute, a call to honor faithfulness, and a challenge to all believers to unite and carry forward the torch of hope. Thank you for listening. May this message inspire you to appreciate the spiritual legacy we've inherited and to step boldly into the future God has prepared.